This time on Roadkill,
The disgusting is back and doing burnouts, and
we're finally doing it. The Hemi Gremmie. I was gonna say pigs are flying, hell is frozen, but we haven't actually accomplished it yet.
Yeah, don't get cocky. I mean, we're here, but we haven't done anything.
No, and we can change our minds once again on the Hemi Gremmie. We've started and stopped this project so many times. It's been a scheme of mine since way back when I first bought the thing.
it's a 1975 AMC Gremlin with an inline 6-cylinder engine that I bought running and driving for only $700 way back when.
And the first time that you saw it was in the episode where we had that whole disaster with the Prius versus the Gremlin, and we ended up spinning off the road while we were flat towing the Prius with the Gremlin, and then we ended up running over the Prius with a tank. It's an epic episode, you've got to see it. And then the Gremlin was in episode 25 of Roadkill, which really tells you how long we've had this thing. The Hemi Gremmie, one of those cars you got to build because you got the name, you got the Gremmie, and you got the Hemi, which is a genuine 426 Gen 2 Hemi, by the way. So when we first decided to build the thing, Mike and I shot a couple of scenes right here in the tech center where we began to do it and then abandoned it because it was way too much work.
This does not fit.
It does,
but it
fits
rhymes.
Between the shock towers. I've done it.
This does not fit.
And then we thought, well, we'll build it on Roadkill Garage because we can do it over more episodes than we could on Roadkill. And so it went up to Steve Dulcich's place, and he and I test fit the Hemi in it and messed around with it a little bit. I have to admit right now, this is not as good as I hoped it would be. We realized it was way too much work for that too, and honestly, Dulcich wasn't that into it. Let's call it quits early.
I'm good with that. I'm out of here.
Start it early.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go, Big Joe. I have to confess, I kind of hate the Gremmie.
And then we decided to do it for Roadkill again, and we sent it down here to the shop, and Lucky Costa from Hot Rod Garage ripped all the suspension out of it for me because the plan has always been a solid front axle and like ladder bars or a 4-link or something like that in the back. So there's two things that make it so that we're finally going to make this happen. First of all, we're going to use this 426 Hemi that I've had since about 1997 when they first came out with the Mopar Performance crate engines. I've dyno tested it recently, and it's like the weakest Hemi ever. It's got stock heads, a tiny camshaft, 9-to-1 compression. It makes about 530 horsepower. But really, this is gonna be about the profiling more than about the speed. And the second thing that really is gonna make this happen is we abandoned the concept of fabbing suspension onto the Gremmie and moved on to dropping the thing on a complete drag race style Model A chassis. It was custom built by my buddy Sam Strube, who did the whole chassis on my Model A hot rod, if you've seen that. It was long enough to fit a Model A, but it's been shortened to the wheelbase of the Gremlin, which is 96 inches. And what's hilarious is when it was shortened, the ladder bar and the front hairpin got really close, which is super ridiculous looking, but that's what I'm going for. This thing is a street freak, not an all-out drag car, and I want it to look ridiculous, and I want it to sit high, and that's why we've got a straight, not dropped, tube front axle on the thing. And in the back, it's got a 9-inch rear end, coilovers, panhard bar, and of course these absurd ladder bars. Right now I've got the 15x10 Kragers on the back with the N5015s. My ProTrack tires didn't show up for the front, so that's something we're gonna have to work around a little bit. So because this is just a straight frame, we're gonna be able to take the Gremlin, which is a unibody car, cut a bunch of stuff off of it, plop it on here, and my hope is that we're gonna be able to make body mounts just like a Jeep CJ7 would have. A lot of people are gonna wanna call this car a gasser because it has a solid front axle on it. It really isn't. Gassers are called that because there was a drag racing class in the NHRA and other sanctioning bodies that started in the late 50s, and it was like one step up of modification from being a stock class car. And so it was called gas, and so gassers were the cars that raced in it. And by the mid-60s, when they saw the height of popularity, that's when people started putting solid front axles under the car to trim weight and to set them high and to set them nose high for weight transfer that was needed at the time. Now fast forward into the 70s, and guys started taking that look and applying it to muscle cars, and they weren't really drag race cars. They were street posers, and they sat really high, and they were really gnarly, and they usually had crazy paint jobs, wild engine swaps, and the magazines were all over it. Street Freak was the thing. This is a Street Freak, not a gasser. I'm building this to be absurd, to do burnouts, to do road trips, and to be very roadkill. I don't really care that much how fast it is on the drag strip, which is weird for me, but we're going for cosmetics this time.
A Street Freak Gremlin with a Hemi is going to break the internet.
Valve cover's right about there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. For once, we are gonna make the Hemi Gremmie a reality. First, we have a blueprint. Look, there's a t-shirt right here. It basically tells you how you should build this car. And second, my friends Andrew and Matt are here. So between the four of us and having all the parts we need for once, there's no reason why we can't make this a running, driving, burnout machine.
Where do we begin?
Let's set on the chassis.
By the way, everybody, that's Andrew, that's Matt. Back, back, back. There. Our first obstacle is that the leaf springs have to come out of the car so we can set it all the way down.
Say when.
Good. We have to get the gas tank out. Falling. Now. It's free.
It's already getting lighter.
Got it?
Let me just set your right height. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Boom, there it is.
Done.
There it is, done.
Now it looks like dirt every day.
Okay, if you guys just grab the front and back, I'll slide these over here.
Ready?
Yep.
Clear?
Yep, that one's good.
Here we go. Up. Okay.
Go for it.
Oh, it's getting there.
The whole front frame rails are gonna come out.
Yeah. Where do you want the body?
It needs to be lower than that.
Needs to be lower?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Less freaky. Got it.
That's just, yeah, not right. The first thing we have to do is get the frame rails off the Gremlin and then set it down, mark it, and just channel it over it. Body drop it.
If you get it squared left to right, we can just slot the whole floor right now and then go down with it.
Install it like a subframe connector. We've been bench racing this with all the guys, and there's a lot of stuff to deal with. Everything is hitting the frame at this point. We're gonna have to cut off a lot of the factory subframe situation, the sheet metal unibody that's underneath the Gremlin. And then we're also looking at the whole front end, and we're just gonna go ahead, take the fenders off and hack everything off the Gremlin from here forward and replace it with fabricated stuff.
Look at all the progress. Okay, the fender is loose.
There we go, one down. There you go, boom.
Yay, team. That's a good blade.
That front valance is attached to the frame, and so we had to cut it off. And now we're ready for the big hack.
What else you want, butchered?
Have at it.
You know, later on, you could Zeus this back together if you wanted to. Just saying. Done.
Now pick it up and underside frame rails. It is free. That's thick.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Whoops. Mike cut all the stuff off the bottom of the car that was interfering with the chassis the first time, and now we're dropping it for a second time to see what we need to hack.
All right, it's sitting on the chassis. Unless you want the monster truck look, we're now cutting the floor of the car.
Unfortunately, it still sits too high off the ground, and so we're not gonna be able to make body mounts like a Jeep to mount the body on the frame. Instead, we're gonna channel the body over the frame, which means we're gonna cut slots in the floor and drop it over the frame and then weld it to the floor. This is when we find out if we got the slot cut in the right place. We just did about 1.5 feet of the floor to go over the frame.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like a glove.
Nailed it.
Oh, dude, that's so much better.
Yeah, that needs to go down an inch or two.
So the top of the frame about even with the rocker.
This is gonna look so cool.
Yep.
This looks good. Nice work, fellas.
That was sweet. Good cut. They got it so that the frame like perfectly fits the body. There's a couple of gaps here and there, but nothing that can't be filled with weld. This is cool. I think we can get rid of this. Don't need a wiper motor when you have a Hemi. Just drive faster than the rain.
That is a good-looking automobile.
It's a Gremlin.
This is how they should have come from the factory. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, this is wild. We got the body on the frame in about the position that it wants to be, and we're about to swing the Hemi in and like mock it up and see where it's gonna go. So all of the good visual pop is gonna happen like that. The motivation comes early and goes downhill from here. Wow, not bad.
We're gonna lose a lot of firewall.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But
a lot of firewalls.
the great part about this is like, if you don't run a hood, it's just fender and Hemi. Dude, look at this.
Uh-huh.
This was like made for a Hemi. The motor's gonna get taller, so.
Yeah, carburetors, air cleaners.
Yeah.
Just like the cartoon.
Fender well headers, like there's still stuff.
This is gonna have no trans tunnel and no room for your feet, and it'll be perfect.
Yeah, who are we? What does it really matter?
This is gonna work. Cool.
All right, so body fits the chassis. Hemi apparently fits the body reasonably well. Transmission will not go in, ain't even close. So what we're gonna do right now is make a cardboard template of the bell housing, which is the widest part of the transmission at the very front of it. And then we're gonna transfer this to the firewall, let Freiburger butcher it because it's his car, and then we'll just step back and watch the mayhem.
I think I'm gonna move to the inside. We're mounting this trans and engine so high that the center line is gonna be right about here, then drive shaft. So we're gonna have to hack a lot of tunnel. Height-wise, I did not cut that even at all. Should I push in?
Yep, go for it.
Fingers clear. It's like 1,500 pounds, right?
My fingers under here. You wanna let the jack down?
We just mocked up the engine and trans in here, and wow, it takes up a lot of room. We hacked almost the whole center part of the floor out of the car. Frame horn's coming off.
This was a chassis for a Model A. Well, now we're repurposing it for our Gremlin, and it's too short. So what we've done is cut the front frame horns off, and we did that because the Hemi's gonna sit right about here, and all we're gonna do is extend the chassis forward with these pieces. Then we're gonna triangulate it probably here with a 45-degree piece of this welded from there to there. I think you're real close. Probably more angle than you want. The trans could probably come up.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We have a dozen things going on at the same time because we don't have parts to finish anything. So Andrew's making a transmission cross-member bracket. Mike's working on the motor mounts that we can't finish because we haven't moved the steering box and we don't have a bushing. So now Matt and I are gonna be making a fender support. So we're gonna use some of this 3/4 square tubing and line it up with the flange of the fender. Then of course we'll be making a whole structure for the radiator and everything else.
This is a plasma cutter. It's amazing. And I'm gonna use it to cut right through this 3/16" plate to make a plate that'll bolt to the engine block that the other guys can turn into motor mounts. Look how far above the fender the valve covers are. I love this.
That part's great.
I would never put a hood on this.
It needs no hood from here back.
Yeah, it's way too good.
It just needs this for decoration.
Yeah, I'm in love.
Yeah.
I have similar feelings that I have for the Ratson. And this hasn't even disappointed me yet.
That's good. It will.
You know, it can only get better for me.
So to continue this, we have to make an entire frame that's going to support the fenders and the radiator. So we got to figure out how wide the hood is and set that distance, and then we'll probably put a cross rod, some diagonals, and then some verticals to mount the radiator to.
We are at 44 5/8.
My fender appears to be aligned.
We got a lot done today. We got most of the floor cut out of the car, where the transmission goes. We got the fenders temporarily hung. We got the engine dangling with no motor mounts. Right now, I'm gonna knock all the paint off of the floor where it surrounds the frame rails, where they protrude, so that we can finally weld the body of the car to the chassis, locking this in, which enables us then to finalize all those things up front that I talked about that we really haven't finished. Right now, I'm gonna make a big mess.
First of all, Andrew and Matt are killing it. They made this transmission cross member, and the thing that's really cool about it is like conservation and fabrication, make everything easy. They've drilled holes into the brackets that already hold the ladder bars, and that's gonna mount right here to the trans cross member, and we didn't have to fabricate more brackets. We had an initial plan to slice the body over the frame and weld the body to the frame, but then we keep having to remove sheet metal to clear the transmission and other things, and so total change of plan. This part, bye-bye. We're gonna end up removing the tunnel all the way back to this rear seat line right here. We're gonna take this part out too. I think we're only gonna keep the footwells. We're gonna fabricate some stringers that go from the frame all the way out and attach to the rocker panel. We think that's gonna be a much more secure way to hold the frame. Meanwhile, the guys are in the back making brackets off the back of the frame that are gonna go up to the subframe that's still left on the Gremlin body to hold the back. And in the front, Finnegan is making little brackets that are gonna weld from the frame directly to the firewall. So we're gonna have 4 points of contact on each side. Firewall, 2 stringers, and at the way back. So that's sort of how we're constructing, deconstructing, and reconstructing all at the same time. Oh, yeah.
Pretty good fire.
Whoa! That's a hole. Ah, blinded.
I feel like that inside edge is, that's like an anytime kind of weld, you know, like anytime but now.
All right, other side. That sounded great if you didn't miss.
I didn't miss.
You don't always do perfect welds, but when you do, they're where nobody sees them.
Yeah, make sure nobody can see the good stuff. So right about now, I am changing jobs. I'm going from pseudo-engineer, building motor mounts and things, to flooring, yeah. So I'm gonna take this 18-gauge sheet metal, cut it with a plasma cutter, and then I'm gonna set it in that car and pretend that this is a suitable structure for mounting seats to. Done.
Those guys are cranking on putting the floor in the car and doing the body supports and stuff. I'm just useless at this point, so I'm gonna start mechanical things. This is a battery box, and I'm gonna put a little battery in it. I haven't decided where. You know, normally you put a battery over here, but for simplicity, it might go right in the center.
This is the passenger side floor pan. What we did here is drilled a whole lot of holes in it so that we could plug weld it directly to the frame rail, to the rockers, and to a squirrel cage we made out of 3/4-inch rectangular steel tubing. Right there. Bye-bye, Mr. Hole. Would you look at it? The Hemi Gremmie actually looks like a Gremlin again. We got the front fenders hung. Matt is putting the lower valance on, which was not easy because that thing was actually welded to the front frame rails of the old front clip. So we had to cut that whole thing apart and engineer a way to weld it back together. And right now I am trying to finish the front half of the floor pans so that we can put seats and a transmission tunnel in there. It is going really good.
These guys have just been knocking it out, killing it, making stuff happen fabrication and welding wise. Where we're at sort of philosophically is trying to figure out what the ride height is going to be. The front spring is way too soft and it just nosed it down. I'm kind of committed, just style-wise, to getting the Hemi level in the car, and we can't set all that until we've got the right spring in the front and the right wheels and tires. They're gonna show up here today on overnight shipping, and we'll be able to put the tires on it for real. I'm gonna take the spring apart and add some leaves to it so that hopefully it sits higher. These guys are gonna keep cranking on the floor. I'll keep working on starting the electrical system in the back, but what's gonna happen right now is fitment of the seats that I brought into the car. Okay, this is a Kirky Racing aluminum fabricated bomber seat, and I'd originally got it from my F-Rod, which is my 8-second 1931 Ford Model A, and these were too wide for that car. So what we're gonna do is mock it up in here. Oh, I think I might have nailed it right there. Yeah, see, I got the perfect armrest height. I've got the perfect shoulder height. The steering wheel's off-center this way to me, but oh, nope, now it's good. So, yeah, that might end up okay. You want to mark that? Mm-hmm. This is going to be a huge moment, getting rid of these ugly wheels and tires and putting on this. The Krager SS and the ProTrack 235/60. And the key to it is 2.5 inches of back spacing. So what I'm trying to do there is move them outboard. See how this is too sucked in? This is also too short. Part of the key to figuring out our stance on the car is gonna be getting the taller tire on there, which is gonna pick up the front of the car. And then I'm gonna be able to add some leaves to the leaf spring to pick up the front of the car and find out if we've got it as high as we need it to be. Ooh, barely clears there. Yeah, if you can turn that one. And hits there. A little bit of fender rubbing will fix that. Here we go, taller tires. Yeah.
Oh, I kind of like the rake, I gotta be honest. That's cool looking, it's a way better wheel.
You might be right. The wheel definitely saves it because that axle was too narrow. It's still a little too narrow, but
I don't know, dude.
I can live with it. We might be good just with some extra springs because right now the engine is mashing that spring flat.
Yeah.
It's dead. Street freak! Look at the Hemi.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, tomorrow I got to bring the tunnel ram and carbs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anytime your distributor sticks out of your hood,
It's really good.
you know you got the engine placement.
Perfect. Just right.
Personally, I have no illusions about the Hemi Gremmie actually running. I am excited to see it in its final form, which will be complete tunnel ram, dual Holley double pumpers, maybe this much of a hood cut up and installed. And look, motor mounts. Matt and Andrew built these. The Hemi is now firmly locked into the Gremmie. I think we could probably knock out the trans tunnel today. This is basically what we're gonna be having rolling down the road at some point in the near future. So right now, I'm going to jump on cutting that barrel up and turning it into a trans tunnel. I believe Freiburger is putting the third member in the 9-inch, and as a team, we're gonna keep on trucking. Boom.
Okay, so since most of the transmission is inside the car now, the brake pedal needs to move over. So it used to mount right here between this bracket, and we want it to move on the outside. So I fabbed up another bracket. Gonna put it in the car and hope it all fits and hope the geometry works out.
You know, I realize this project looks ridiculously expensive, but let's review some things. I got the Gremlin for $700 ages ago. 232 angry cubic inches. The chassis under this thing, I bought from a friend of a friend for $2,000. The Hemi is a little hard to get around, I admit, but I've had it since 1997 as part of a trade deal. Gearstar donated the transmission, can't argue with that. And the rest of it, I'm trying to scab together. I mean, Andrew and Matt are virtually volunteer labor. And of course, we got Finnegan making a trans tunnel out of an old oil drum, so that's near free. And I'm using a lot of leftover parts. This was in the Crusher Camaro at one time. And it is a wave track, which is a limited slip with a 350 gear. And the reason I'm using it is because it's 35 spline, which is a larger axle shaft diameter than you would normally get from a Ford 9-inch. Like stock ones are 28 or 31, so this is beefier. And my buddy Sam had axles that would work. And so I bought those for $200. So it's kind of cheap. So you might guffaw at me trying to say it's a low buck project, but I would say it's as low buck as I can manage to throw it together. Ugh, that is not light. 15 by 10 and 50-15. See what I did there for that cool camera shot? Keep going. Probably right there. Let me move it over. Okay, Kaylin's gonna help me throw the center section in here. Or the jacket. There we go. That was easy. Remember my whole perfectionism about the front ride height? Well, now's the time we're finally gonna deal with it. The leaf spring I ordered came in, so we're gonna try and swap it in there and see what it does. If it doesn't get us where we need to be, then we'll start mixing and matching individual leaves to make our own spring pack. All right, I need one more nut. A moment of truth on ride height with the front spring. It's like the Titanic sinking. Oh, wow. That's way worse. That spring compressed flat. Well, we messed around with the front suspension, and unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to get there from here. We're gonna have to either convert to coilovers or parallel leafs or something, because that transverse leaf spring just cannot handle the weight of the Hemi hanging over the front like that. So we're giving up, and we're going to cosmetics. We're gonna cut the hole in the hood, get that just right, and then move on to carburetors and stuff on the tunnel ram. So we're doing fun stuff instead of critical stuff. Watch the paint. So we've got the hole that we want to cut in the hood all plotted out on it after lots of measuring on my part so that it'll be my fault when it's wrong. And what he's doing with the hole saw is drilling at each corner. We first put a little pilot hole in, and then he's hole sawing it so that when we're done cutting out the edges, we've got a nice rounded shape on the corner. It'll be cool. How's that for a wall hanging? Looks like a miniature hood. Ouch.
Wow, this is quite a diet you put it on. Look at that.
I'll have to cut those braces back.
This is better than carbon fiber. Look how light it is.
Dun, dun, dun. Back, front. Look at that.
Wow.
That is a lot of Hemi.
That looks good, dude.
Yeah, nailed it.
That looks good.
That is really cool. Okay, I admit one sort of embarrassing thing here is that they're not Dominators, but what can you do?
Lucky to have carburetors.
There you go. That's what you get with the Hemi Gremmie.
Dude. It's perfect.
It's pretty great.
The stance,
Yeah.
the motor.
Really happy with the hood cut. I'm glad we have some structure back here. Pin that thing down. Look at that. I've got Hemi above the hood line, above the fender line.
Man.
That is a cartoon. It's been in my mind for so long.
You're doing it wrong. You gotta, this is the view right here. I can see orange Hemi block through the fender.
Oh, wait till it has headers.
This is awesome.
This is awesome. How'd we do versus the blueprint?
Pretty damn good. Look
I
at
know.
that. Really, all we're missing is the fire and the smoke.
Yeah, we can make that.
Yeah.
It's got the N5015s, the fatty fronts, the Kragers, the tunnel ram, the Hemi out the fender, the dual quads. This is so great. The Hemi Gremmie is actually coming together after so many years of living nowhere but in my brain. Obviously, it's become a way bigger build than we anticipated. And unfortunately, we have other obligations and can't keep working on it right now. But have no fear, we are going to finish the Hemi Gremmie in the very next episode of Roadkill. In the meantime, I can't leave you without some kind of burnout action, and so the Disgustang is back. This is the very first day I have on the absolutely complete version of my '69 Mustang Mach 1. I haven't even driven it yet, but it's in its finished form, and I wanted to give everyone an update on it. So let's go back to 2017, when Finnegan and I went to Colorado Auto and Parts, and we visited the Corns family.
and came up with this car that had been sitting outside in their junkyard since 1980 or 81. So do the math. That's like, give or take, 35 years in a junkyard. And it's called the Disgustang because it was filled with poop, like large human-appearing poo. It was really, really bad. So we got it running. We did some donuts around the wrecking yard, and that was a lot of fun. And then we went up to Steve Dulcich's place, and we were gonna take the Disgustang on a road trip. And just like blocks from Steve's place, we ended up killing the original 351 Windsor that was in the car. It spun a rod bearing. So we did a big thrash and we put a Blueprint Engine's 410-inch stroker in the thing, and we ended up driving it all the way up to Dirtfish in Washington. That's that famous rally school where we love to beat on our cars, and man, did Finnegan beat on this thing. Some of the greatest footage of the Disgustang is us doing donuts in the rain and mud, just thrashing the car. Now, body-wise, the thing was not as rust-free as I thought it was gonna be when it came out of the junkyard. And so we actually had my buddies at Hot Rod Ranch put floors in it. And amazingly, Randy up there fixed a bunch of rust from the stripe down and then matched the paint. So as much as I hate fake patina, it is color matched all the way on both sides from the stripe down from rust repair. People ask me all the time if I'm gonna paint the thing, and the answer is I hope not. Another question I have to answer is the one everybody asks, which is why are the wheels this ugly? They're gold steel wheels, original Ford steel wheels that I had custom offset just to fit the 275/60/15 in the back and the 235 in the front. The reason that they're gold is that they're mimicking cars that Mickey Thompson took to the Bonneville Salt Flats in 1968. A bunch of prototype Mach 1s, and they set endurance records on large ovals at the Bonneville Salt Flats. They had a blue one, a yellow one, and a red one, and they all had the gold wheels. So this is a tribute to Mickey Thompson, the greatest hot rodder of all time. Since you saw it last on Roadkill, it's been in episodes of Roadkill Garage, and the engine has been on Engine Masters. It actually made like 480 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. And we ended up putting in an American Powertrain 5-speed manual transmission. We did all the suspension on the thing, and then I sent the thing out first to Define Concepts. They completely redid the interior in the original parchment color, but they also handmade a center console for it. They handmade the inside quarter panels, the case for the subwoofers. It's incredible what they did. After that, it went to Lucky Costa from Hot Rod Garage, and in his personal shop, he installed air conditioning and then did all of the little tiny stuff that I would have never gotten to in a million years because Roadkill. Today is the first day that I got it back from Lucky, like completely dialed in.
See, the last time I rode in it, it was just full of poop.
Yeah. So our plan, after having stared at the Hemi Gremmie in lust, is to go hop in the Disgustang and head out to Hoonigan's to do some burnouts.
Let's go ruin your brand new tires.
Let's do that. Let's go ruin my brand new car.
Why not? Let's go.
You only have to drive it one day to make it a daily driver, right?
It counts. If it makes it there, it counts.
So yeah, this is gonna be the first time I've driven it with all these accoutrements, meaning stuff.
My goodness, this is not the same car.
Not a bit.
Like, there's no squeaks, there's no rattles, there's no rat turds.
Raccoon poop,
You got subwoofers.
all that.
Wow, I like it.
I really dig the dash. It's the Dakota Digital one that looks kind of like factory gauges.
Oh yeah.
It says I have oil pressures, and it says it's 135 degrees.
That's way better than it was last time we drove this car.
Yeah, we did a lot to it. I mean, every nut and bolt on the whole car is brand new.
Yeah, I'm not inhaling fumes through the floorboards anymore.
And you have a seat belt. And
I have a seatbelt this time. That's a new trans even, right? It didn't have a stick in it the last time, did it?
no, American Powertrain 5-speed, not 6. So Lucky installed the taillights for me, which are LEDs. And they have a switch on them where you can either make them with the sequential blink, 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 blink,
I
blink,
like
blink,
that.
or solid. And I was like, no disco. I want just regular solid light. I don't like the sequential.
I like the sequential.
Disco.
Ah, it's churching it up. I like it.
Ah, I hear my bad lifter. That lifter clatter is the worst. Oh, I hope that lifter doesn't break while we're doing this. Oh, this is the worst it's ever done it.
I'm sure there'll be a parking lot around here somewhere.
Here we go. Okay, well, we've already got a bummer. It's idling at 2,000 RPM. It's got no throttle return spring, massive vacuum leak, and aside from that, it has got a lifter that is making a ton of noise. Unfortunately, it started doing that as soon as I put it in the car, and it hasn't healed.
It didn't do that until it got hot, and,
Right.
and until the lifter started really making noise.
Yeah. That is radically unacceptable lifter noise. The cable is not letting it go all the way. I'm way more concerned about that lifter. That's gonna fail. Well, I don't know what to do about that at the side of the road. Well, I guess we go do burnouts and hope I don't blow it out. I got it to idle slower, but it looks like something in the intake is catching on a throttle blade and is not letting the throttle go all the way back to zero. But my far bigger concern is that thing makes a lot of lifter noise. Well, I guess I'm going to Hoonigan and hoping for the best. What do they say? Just ain't care? Ain't care? Something like that.
It could be worse.
Wheel hops too. Yeah, now it's not doing it.
Cool.
Well, I suppose it had to continue being roadkill one way or another.
Always does. Doesn't matter how nice the car is.
Oh, I see John's Nova.
Yeah.
Look, see? It says just ain't care.
There it is.
I'm parking directly under that because that's what's gonna happen.
We made it.
On 7.5 cylinders.
Yeah. Better than most, though.
Think it does burnouts on 7.5 because just ain't care.
Yeah. So our friends at the Hoonigans recently moved to a location where they could do burnouts, which means we could do burnouts. Dude, this is the spot. This is perfect for burnouts.
This is the brand new Hoonigan Empire in Compton, California, and they got more space than they used to in Long Beach, and they're letting us use it to break in or perhaps break the disgusting.
I believe they've only been here for 2 weeks, and look how many tire tracks there are already here.
Oh, these guys, they know how to party on the tire destruction, that's for sure.
It's your job to make it worse. Just go get the car.
Well, the problem is, on the way over here, a lifter collapsed. It's making a lot of clattering noise. It's a hydraulic roller lifter. They've been failing a lot lately, and this one did. So I gotta tear it apart. The question is, will I break it doing burnouts here at Hoonigan? Well, I think you know the answer. So I guess we'll fire it up and find out if I'm gonna embarrass myself or run the thing into a shipping container back there as I put the rubber down in the burn yard.
Why am I doing this to my brand new car?
I only have one question right now, and it's, will the peer pressure of being in the most famous burnout spot in the world influence his right foot when he comes through here in the disgusting? I think it will. Let's see. Oh, there's a Corvette right there. Careful. Don't point that thing at me. It's a Mustang.
I wouldn't stand there.
Oh, you pointed a Mustang at me. I ran.
Well, that's what I mean, run.
Oh. Oh, that was a pretty damn good donut. I really feel like he owes us more, though. I mean, the car's got bass now. It's got a new motor. It's got a new transmission, new suspension. All that work that went into that car, I feel like he owes you and me more smoke than that. Here we go. Here we go. That didn't count either. Do better. I love peer pressuring Freiburger into making bad decisions with his cars.
It's still in one piece.
More cowbell. You know, it makes all the right noises, but there's just not a lot of tire smoke there.
Wow. Taking a beating. It's still not overheating or anything. Wow, there's the Finnegan scumbug right there.
I really feel like second gear's not the move. It needs third gear, more wheel speed. Will his clutch handle it? Can I peer pressure him into doing that? This is sacred hollowed ground right here. There needs to be more smoke. Go for third gear. Much better!
I think I broke the lifter.
Yes.
That broke it.
There's some science here.
It's broken.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. I want to make you feel better. The transition from concrete to asphalt finally made tire smoke.
Yeah?
It was beautiful.
I think it maybe kicked the push rod out. Listen to it.
Sounds the same.
Yeah, it was pinging.
The RPM was really low when it was pinging. It was almost not running when it was pinging.
Hear that?
That sounds bad.
That's bad. That sounds remarkably like it did when we blew up the 351. Remember when you said this sounds like we blew up the 351? This sounds like when we blew up the 351.
It just went away, though.
Not at RPM.
Oh, yeah.
That's a rod knock.
Is there any oil in it?
Yeah, I mean, it's got oil pressure. Oh, no, it doesn't. That's a rod knock. It's done.
Oh. Apparently, Uncle Rodney is not quite ready to come out and play, but he's damn close.
Yep.
All right, that's the end of another motor in the disgusting.
It only has 23 pounds of oil pressure at like 4,000. So
That's not good.
it's dead. I just ain't carried it into oblivion.
Thanks for watching Roadkill.
Well, that was the ultimate because Roadkill. Explain to me how this engine has taken an absolute beating and never failed. Think about it. We've run this thing down the drag strip and run low 12s with it. We road tripped the thing all the way up to Washington, and we beat on it mercilessly at Dirtfish. But then all of a sudden you take it to Hoonigan and you get peer pressured into a million donuts and the junk blows up. It's got a bad rod knock. Everyone's been asking, don't you have a road race pan on this thing? Yes, I do. But apparently it couldn't hang with that many donuts. Eventually I will get it fixed and hopefully be able to drive it for more than a day. But for now, we're gonna get back to work on the Gremmie, which is turning out way better than I hoped for. And I guarantee you will see it doing even bigger burnouts on the next episode of Roadkill. And I also promise we will not blow up the 426 Hemi.
I shouldn't have stepped on the parking brake. It's stuck. Okay, we have a problem. I made the mistake of stepping on my parking brake, and it is now stuck, and I can't get it up.
Everybody cut, everybody cut. What do you need, David? Do you need tool?
Give me a second to fiddle with it.
Copy. Fiddling.
Okay. Okay, handled.
Copy. Stand by. Getting in position again.
Guess my parking brake needs a little lube. Roadkill.